Endless winning, endless levels of winning. I'm not yet tired of the winning. We'll bring you all the latest winning because let me just say, Donald Trump's selections thus far, 10 out of 10, not 9 out of 10, like 10 out of 10. We'll get to that in a moment. First, Am I Racist broke records in theaters as the decade's #1 documentary. Now it's streaming only at Daily Wire Plus with exclusive extras. See it all now, only on Daily Wire Plus. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code Trump to get 47% off your new annual membership today. So, the insiders are going insane because some of Donald Trump's new picks are quite controversial and controversially awesome. So my favorite pick of the day yesterday, and Trump is rolling out these picks unbelievably fast. Remember, the election just happened last week. Okay, the election was a grand total at this point of 8 days ago. And Donald Trump has already rolled out nearly his entire cabinet at this point, at least when it comes to the national security side. Yesterday, he rolled out Pete Hegseth, Army veteran and Fox News host, as his choice for Secretary of Defense. And the usual suspects are going absolutely insane. I think perhaps my favorite response has come courtesy of Politico, which is losing it over the fact that Pete Hegseth is an outsider. So, for example, they put out a piece saying that is all about how the defense industry lobbyists are very upset. Quote, one assessment was more blunt. Who the F is this guy? Said a defense industry lobbyist who was granted anonymity to offer candid views. The lobbyist said they had hoped for someone who actually has an extensive background in defense. That would be a good start. Well, here is the problem, guys. The people who have been running our defense apparatus for nigh on 2 decades at this point have done a horrendous job. The Department of Defense has been signally responsible for the worst botched pullout in American history and Afghanistan, a completely failed response to terrorism by the Houthis in the Red Sea, a completely weak response to Russian invasion of Ukraine. That's what the Department of Defense has done. They've burdened the Department of Defense with a bunch of woke nonsense. Plus, they have not actually built to spec, meaning that they are not interested in the next war. They just keep building for the last war. There needs to be a tremendous overhaul inside the Pentagon, and Pete Hegseth is the guy to do that. And you can sense it from all of the wailing and gnashing of teeth from all the right people. Apparently, Elizabeth Warren is super upset. Elizabeth Warren tweeted out, quote, a Fox and Friends weekend co-host is not qualified to be Secretary of Defense. I lead the Senate Military Personnel Panel. All 3 of my brothers served in uniform. I respect every one of our service members. Donald Trump's pick will make us less safe and must be rejected. So I'm just going to point out at this point that she says that her qualification to be on the Senate Military Personnel Panel is that she has siblings who served. Pete Hegseth is an Army major. He was in the National Guard. He served in both Iraq and Afghanistan and was awarded the Bronze Star twice. Hey, listen, I know Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is awesome. He's awesome. He's going to break all the right brains. He's going to go in. He's going to clean house. We did an interview with Pete Hegseth just a few months ago about his brand new book, which is all about cleansing the military of woke. Pete is a young go-getter. Pete is 44 years old. He is obviously very bright. He went to Harvard and Princeton. Plus, there's the military record. I mean, he's literally writing the book on how to clear the military of all of the dead wood. And here he was, for example, talking about what he thinks America's foreign policy should be like. I am all in on this, all in.
It goes all the way back to we're not even declaring wars anymore because no one wants they're so politically untenable as to what way they'll go, so no one actually wants to invest in them or is willing to. And so you get these forever wars, which is a bad phrase because they're not forever wars, but it's the way it ends up being described because there is no actual end state. Tell me what the end state is in Ukraine. I could tell you what the end state is in Israel. And what's the only thing the American military and the American diplomats are doing right now? Trying to stop Israel from finishing the fight. Like, there's one thing that Israel could do. Kill every last one of those Hamas now, and then the war stops. And by the way, Israel didn't start it. Like, that's how wars end. That's how peace breaks out. For thousands of years, somebody actually wins the war. And when they win the war, then there's a new reality, a new geopolitical reality. We don't fight that way. We let the lawyers lead. We let international institutions have too much say. And it percolates. I tell stories directly as a platoon leader, down to can you shoot, can you not shoot? Are guys being criminalized after the fact, put in jail? I mean, Donald Trump pardoned a bunch of guys I advocated for in his last couple of years in office. They killed the right guys in the wrong way, according to somebody. I'm done with that. Like, we need to fight total war against our enemies when we do. And yeah, you don't kill civilians on purpose, but you kill bad guys, all of them. You stack bodies. And when it's over, then you let the dust settle and you figure out who's ahead. But it turns out we're the ones with the big guns right now.
I like this. This is good. What he's saying right there, that's good. I know America has fallen into the habit of not winning wars or winning wars and then blowing the peace. Pete Hegseth is not that type. He's going to be great. Also, again, he literally wrote the book on de-woking the military. Here he is, for example, discussing reforming U.S. military leadership.
Any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever, that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go. Either you're in for war fighting, and that's it. That's the only litmus test we care about. You got to get DEI and CRT out of military academies, so you're not training young officers to be baptized in this type of thinking. And then, whatever the standards, whatever the combat standards were, say, in, 1995, let's just make those the standards. And as far as recruiting, to hire the guy that, did Top Gun Maverick and create some real ads that motivate people to want to serve.
Okay, that is right. That is correct. By the way, more young men will join the military with Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. You know why? Because people who are joining the military look at Pete Hegseth and they think, that dude is a bad, and that's somebody who I want heading up the Department of Defense. These are awesome picks. Seriously, they're just great. And it's hilarious because the entire left, they're bringing out clips of Pete Hegseth saying things. And every time they bring out a clip of Pete Hegseth supposedly being terrible, all I can think of is, stop, I'm already supporting him. You can't make me support him anymore. It's not possible. So, for example, some of them bring out a clip of him talking about how women should not be serving in frontline combat positions. I don't understand what's even controversial about that. Is your idea here that women should be in frontline combat positions? Like next to the big, bulky Navy SEAL guys? Like that's your proposition? Like keep bringing out more clips of Pete Hegseth. Every new clip makes me support him even more, but it's not possible because we've hit the limit of possible support at 100%. You can't support him 110%. It's not statistically possible. Now, a lot of this is happening because Donald Trump is deliberately going outside the system of the military structure. He's apparently pursuing a draft executive order that would create a board to purge the woke generals. Yes, this is correct. Many of the people in the military, like every grunt will tell you, everybody, I know a lot of people who are serving in America's military. Everyone will tell you the biggest obstacle to military success in the United States military is the political generals, the people who have kissed enough ass to make their way to the top of the heap. That's not every general, but there are some who for certain have made their way to the top of the heap by playing the game. Well, the military bureaucracy is what prevents the United States military from adapting, from innovating, from being quick and responsive. Wiping all of that out would be great. Again, I'm going to listen to people who think that Rachel Levine ought to be an admiral. Like the dude who says he's Rachel Levine ought to be an admiral. Like that's you. You're the people who I'm going to listen to about military policy. The people who believe that the way that you recruit people to the United States military is by waving rainbow flags. Like, I'm sorry, that is not how you recruit people to the military. We have a massive shortfall in the number of people who want to join the military. We have a massive shortfall in terms of the military technology we actually have to develop. It is a rough world out there, and Pete Hegseth knows that better than literally anyone who is being looked at for this position. Now, again, Trump has amazing gut instincts, and what we're watching right now is those gut instincts coming into play. Because apparently he thought about Pete Hegseth like 2.5 days ago, and then he had an interview with him yesterday, and then he picked him yesterday, which is just great. Again, one of the reasons he's doing this is because of this executive order. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Trump transition team is considering a draft executive order that establishes a warrior board of retired senior military personnel with the power to review 3- and 4-star officers and to recommend removals of any deemed unfit for leadership. If Trump approves the order, it could fast-track the removal of generals and admirals found to be, quote, lacking in requisite leadership qualities. Again, I don't understand what the left is so afraid of about this. How could it possibly be worse than Lloyd Austin, who has presided over a Defense Department that allowed a giant Chinese spy balloon to float over the entirety of the continental United States, that has allowed the United States Navy to be made a mockery of in the Red Sea? A Secretary of Defense who literally went AWOL for like a week and nobody knew where the hell he was? I'm also amused to hear many of the people who are ripping on Pete Hegseth's credentials. These are the same people who thought that Pete Buttigieg should be Secretary of Transportation because he likes trains. Like literally those were his qualifications. Like, give me a break. Apparently, I love this. According to the Wall Street Journal, this could create a chilling effect on top military officers given the president-elect's past vow to fire woke generals, referring to officers seen as promoting diversity in the ranks at the expense of military readiness. As commander-in-chief, Trump can fire any officer at will. An outside board whose members he appoints would bypass the Pentagon's regular promotion system, signaling across the military he intends to purge a number of generals and admirals. Again, that is good, and Pete Hegseth helping to oversee that will be excellent. By the way, he should be appointing people to Secretary of the Navy. I would recommend somebody like Mike Gallagher. Mike Gallagher would be an excellent candidate for Secretary of the Navy, the former Republican representative from Wisconsin. who's also a military man. And we need to update our Navy. More than any other branch of the American military, the Navy needs a complete facelift and an update. Like this is all very good, what is happening right now. And let's be real, a lot of positivity out there. For those of us holding our breath these past several months, we can finally exhale and get to work on the major issues facing the country. One of the most significant issues is the national debt, of course. That fact is, and this is important, our nation is broke. Debt is a house of cards that simply cannot be quickly dismantled. For as long as the economy sits on top of that house of cards, the strategy remains the same. You need to diversify your savings. That's exactly why I buy gold from Birch Gold. Look, there's so many things out there that are completely out of our control. That's precisely why you want a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group, my gold company, will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Here's the best part. It doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Remember, it only takes the removal of one card for this whole house of cards to fall. So protect your savings with gold. Text BEN to 989898. Get your free information kit. Right now, through Black Friday, you'll receive a free 1-ounce Silver Eagle for every $5,000 purchased. As the exclusive gold partner of the Daily Wire for the past 8 years, you can trust Birch Gold as I do to help you protect your savings. Text BEN to 989898 today. Again, text BEN to 989898 to get started. Also, every single month, millions of Americans hand over their hard-earned money to landlords, getting absolutely nothing in return except a place to live. What if I told you there was a logical solution to this financial inefficiency? This is where Built Rewards comes in. I have to tell you, it's actually really, really smart. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent, watch the Built points roll in. Now, what can you actually do with these points? Well, you can use them toward a dream vacation. We're talking 500 plus airlines, 700,000 plus hotels and properties. Unlike the federal government, Built actually gives you choices. You can use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. The best part? You pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. By the way, Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guide and Bankrate. So here's what you need to do right now. Go join Built.com/Ben. That's JOINBILT.com/Ben. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Join Built.com/Ben. Start earning points with your rent payments today. Meanwhile, he has also announced that he is going to appoint John Ratcliffe over at the CIA. John Ratcliffe, of course, is a former Trump staffer. He's a hawkish former House lawmaker. And Ratcliffe, he called a warrior for truth and honesty. Trump has credited him with exposing fake Russian collusion in the House. He was a representative for Texas' 4th congressional district from 2015 to 2020. And then he was confirmed by a divided Senate in 2020 to be the nation's intelligence czar, right? He was the DNI, replacing Dan Coats, who resigned after a tenure marked by friction with Trump. Ratcliffe focused heavily on the threat from China. Ratcliffe is going to come in, and again, he's going to clean house. And I'm telling you, they need to clean house over at the CIA. So first of all, Ratcliffe understands the difference between the Trump doctrine and the Obama doctrine. The Trump doctrine is very simple. America has interests. We will muscularly defend those interests. And we will threaten you if you attempt to threaten those interests. If you attempt to walk over that line, we'll punch you really hard in the face. Here's John Ratcliffe expressing this just a few months ago over on Fox News.
You know, the famous Obama doctrine, which was that, look, we can deter Iran diplomatically and it won't come at the expense of Israel. Well, Barack Obama was wrong. He misunderstood the lethality and the evil nature of the Iranian regime. And what Israel has done is essentially employ the Trump doctrine, a maximum pressure campaign, understanding that the only way to deter terrorists like Iran and their proxies is to put your foot on their throat. And Israel has done that. We should be assisting Israel in doing so. But again, political expediency and the quest for power by Kamala Harris and the Democrats is resulting in American national security taking a back seat, unfortunately.
Good for John Ratcliffe. He's awesome. By the way, the amount of deadwood they're going to have to clear out over there is serious. I mean, when you talk about the deep state, again, you can't have an executive branch this large without an awful lot of trash in it. The best example is literally today, the CIA has now arrested a former CIA official. This is actual current CIA official. He will be former very soon. A CIA official has now been charged with disclosing classified documents that appeared to show Israel's plans to retaliate against Iran for a missile attack earlier this year, according to court documents and people familiar with the matter. The official's name is Asif Rahman. Was indicted last week in federal court in Virginia with 2 counts of willful retention and transmission of national defense information. He was arrested by the FBI on Tuesday in Cambodia and brought to federal court in Guam to face charges. Well, what's he doing in Cambodia? Was he fleeing? What's the story? The documents were prepared by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which analyzes images and information collected by U.S. spy satellites. It conducts work in support of clandestine and military operations. The information in the documents is highly classified and details interpretation of satellite imagery that shed light on a possible strike by Israel on Iran. They began circulating last month on the Telegram app. Court documents said that Rahman held a top security clearance with access to sensitive compartmentalized information, which is typical for many CIA employees who handle classified materials. And guarantee you, task number one for John Ratcliffe is going to be going through the lists of the CIA and cleansing out everyone who does not have the best interests of the United States at heart and who believes that it is their sole job to stop the Trump administration from doing its duly appointed work. Okay, those were not the only appointments yesterday. There was also Mike Huckabee. So Mike Huckabee has now been appointed the ambassador to Israel, taking over for my friend David Friedman. Huckabee is awesome. And Governor Huckabee, when it comes to Israel, is extraordinarily hawkish. He certainly understands the situation in the Middle East quite well. He also, as an evangelical Christian, is deeply supportive, of course, of the state of Israel. Here was Governor Huckabee talking about Hamas versus Israel.
I tell people this is not a political, sociological, economic battle. This is a spiritual battle. This is as clear a definition between good and evil as we have seen in our lifetime, and one of the most profound in all of history.
Yeah, again, he is correct about that. And of course, Mike Huckabee understands that the reality on the ground in Israel, especially when it comes to the so-called West Bank, is that increased Israeli building in the West Bank is not a bad thing. The areas that Israel is building end up being economic hotspots. They end up being places of democracy and freedom. And that's the Palestinian Authority that has declined its entire population into a horrible situation in the West Bank. Here's Mike Huckabee talking about this.
Can't wait to get back. I'm going to take an extra hat. I'm going to get it to President-elect Trump. Build Israel great again. Who knows? We may see him wear this out there in one of his rallies somewhere. I don't know. Can't promise that. I can only promise he will get a copy of the hat. Thank you very much.
Again, Mike Huckabee will be the new ambassador to Israel. And this team is it's so good. It's so good. Meanwhile, the president has also announced that William McGinley will be the White House counsel. He was, of course, in the first administration for Trump as the White House cabinet secretary. So, in an announcement Tuesday evening, Trump said that McGinley played a major role in his election victory as the RNC's outside counsel for election integrity. He said, Bill's a smart and tenacious lawyer who will help me advance our America First agenda while fighting for election integrity and against the weaponization of law enforcement. He's going to be playing a key behind-the-scenes role in vetting Supreme Court candidates and nominees as well, presumably for lower courts as well. He was the general counsel at the National Republican Senatorial Committee, too. So, again, these are very good picks. Speaking of the sort of legal side, Jack Smith is now planning to resign as special counsel before Trump enters the White House, which makes perfect sense because otherwise Donald Trump would have the signal pleasure of firing Jack Smith, who's been going after him for a wide variety of charges in multiple jurisdictions. According to National Review, Smith intends to finish his work and leave before Trump can fulfill his promise of firing the federal prosecutor within 2 seconds of taking office, anonymous sources told the New York Times. Prosecutors and FBI agents on his team were reportedly told to leave over the course of the next few weeks. So you can kiss goodbye to Jack Smith. All those votive candles that Democrats bought are now going to go on eBay for about 5 cents a pop alongside the Robert Mueller candles, which are now available for free on eBay. Meanwhile, the other big announcement yesterday in terms of staffing, apparently, President Trump has now appointed Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk to a government efficiency effort called DOGE. Again, this is it. Government efficiency can be fun. This is great. It's a perfect role for Vivek. Vivek's a businessman. Vivek understands efficiency. Vivek's super bright. Obviously, he's tech savvy. He and Elon will make an amazing team in going through and vetoing all of the government spending initiatives that they can. According to the Wall Street Journal, President-elect Trump picked Tesla CEO Elon Musk and biotech company founder Vivek Ramaswamy to lead an effort to cut spending, eliminate regulations, and restructure federal agencies. Trump said in a statement on Tuesday night that Ramaswamy and Musk, the wealthiest person in the world, would lead what the president calls the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which is hilarious. And if I know Elon Musk, I assume that the first recommended cut will be in the $69 billion realm. The group's mandate is to streamline government bureaucracy, the president-elect said. Now, DOGE will operate outside the federal government. They're going to be working with the White House Office of Management and Budget to implement their recommendations. Now, again, they're not going to have any statutory authority, at least so far. They're going to make recommendations as to cuts, and those recommendations are going to be completely transparent, according to Elon Musk. Trump gave Musk and Ramaswamy a deadline of July 4th, 2026 to complete their work. Musk is not going to become an official government employee, which makes sense. Why would he possibly enter government directly, which would mean that he'd have to divest from, all the giant companies that he runs. Trump said a smaller government with more efficiency and less bureaucracy will be the perfect gift to America on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I'm confident that they will succeed. Now, again, this will be great. It's going to be excellent to have a department of efficiency that is operating outside government to make recommendations that will be taken very seriously by the Trump administration. By the way, the business community is over the moon about this administration. Over the moon about this administration. Now, Bill Ackman is saying as much. Ackman, of course, was a Democrat who endorsed Donald Trump for the presidency. And as he points out, the amount of excitement in the business community over all of this is amazing. He says, quote, "The business community is giddy with excitement about the Trump administration. I'm hearing this from everyone, including from people who didn't vote for Trump." By the way, I'm hearing exactly the same thing. I spoke to many Democrats who are in powerful positions in terms of business in Hollywood, and secretly they're like, this is kind of great. This is kind of great. Business confidence, says Bill Ackman, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Business leaders are becoming more confident about the country and the economy. This means they'll be making more investments in our future, which will drive the economy and the stock market, reducing the cost of capital and bolstering confidence further, catalyzing more investment and more growth in a self-reinforcing virtuous cycle. Merger and acquisition activity is about to explode, as there are an enormous number of deals that have been deferred pending a more favorable regulatory environment for transactions. M&A will drive efficiency, greater profitability, and growth. It will also enable the return of capital to investors who will seek to redeploy their profits and proceeds in new investment opportunities. The DOGE and deregulation will drive government efficiency and make America a vastly better and lower risk place to do business efficiently and effectively. I'm also hearing about non-U.S. companies that are desperate to immediately create a presence on U.S. soil. They're frightened to be locked out of the most important economy in the world. They will build factories and make new investments here to avoid the risk of tariffs and because they don't have a better place to invest capital. China's economy is in trouble. Europe's is a mess. The U.S. has now become, by far, the best country for investment. Growth is about to explode. That is correct. Folks, growth is about to explode. I was losing sleep over worry. Now I'm losing it over excitement. But here's the thing. You spend a third of your life sleeping, which is around 25 years of your life in bed. With numbers like that, your mattress isn't just furniture. It's an investment in your own well-being. This is where Helix Sleep comes in. I never thought a mattress could make such a difference until I tried Helix. What sets them apart? Well, unlike those one-size-fits-all brands, Helix offers 20 different mattress options because they understand everyone's sleep needs are unique. It all starts with their sleep quiz, a game changer for finding your perfect match. When I mentioned my struggle with lower back pain on softer mattresses, they recommended their medium firm option. The result? Sleeping like a baby. Look for that cloud-like feeling? Try their Luxe. Want the ultimate sleep experience? Go for the Elite. Need extra support? The Helix Plus has you covered. Forget those awkward mattress store visits. The ones where you just lie down on every mattress for 5 seconds and then think that you found the right one. Helix will deliver it right to your door. Helix is so confident in their product, they give you 100 nights to try it out. It's over 3 months to test your mattress in the real world. Plus, every mattress comes with a 10 to 15-year warranty. So if you want to sleep as soundly as I do, head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. Take that sleep quiz. Plus, Helix is offering up to 25% off site-wide, 2 free Dream Pillows with any mattress purchase. Even better, Helix is offering a free bedding bundle. That's 2 Dream Pillows, a sheet set, a mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. That's right. Head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben with Helix. Better sleep starts right now. Also, who actually wants to deal with the hassle of selling a car? Have you actually looked outside your house? You see that car that you haven't driven for a while because the engine in great shape and it costs more to fix it than it is to get rid of it? If you have a car that's just sitting in your driveway, taking up space, you really should consider donating it to Cars for Kids. They make donating your car super easy. You barely even need to be involved at all. Give them a call, or better yet, donate your car at carsforkids.org/Ben. That's cars with a K. All it takes is 2 minutes to put in your information. They'll schedule pickup for a time that works for you as soon as the very next day. You'll get a vacation voucher and a tax deduction. They've done this over 1 million times, so you can trust that you are in good hands with Cars for Kids. Call right now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS, KARS, Cars for Kids, or donate online at carsforkids.org/Ben. Donate your car today. Again, that thing isn't doing you any good, and it can do somebody else a lot of good, and you can get a tax deduction and all the rest of the good stuff. Call right now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS, KARS, Cars for Kids, or donate online at carsforkids.org/Ben. And there's been a lot of loose talk about Trump's tariff plans. The reality is that an enormous amount of Trump's tariff plan is designed in order to generate wins from other countries. You threaten to tariff a country in order to have them lower their own trade barriers against the United States, for example. Trump did that with Canada. use the threat of tariffs in order to change the deal on NAFTA. Trump did that. Trump is pragmatic. All he cares about is the level of economic success. What that means is that he's not going to heedlessly run directly into the teeth of a tariff-driven inflation. He's instead going to use the threat of tariffs in order to cudgel America's geopolitical opponents into submission, which is exactly what he should do. Apparently, Trump has told allies he wants his former U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer as the administration's trade czar, according to people familiar with the matter. Lighthizer is a key advisor to Trump and helped implement his tariff policies during his first term in office. Now, Trump wants him to be a czar, which would likely give Lighthizer oversight of trade policy across the administration. That position would not require Senate confirmation, allowing him to immediately have the power to start implementing Trump's tariff proposals shortly after the president-elect is inaugurated in January. It'll be interesting to see how all of the voices in Trump world bounce off of one another, but the team that he is putting together is really, really spectacular. These are really good people that he is putting in place. Meanwhile, we're already seeing the beneficial effects of some of his picks. Tom Homan, will you recall, is the border czar. Man, that guy is a bulldog. I mean, he looks like a bulldog. He acts like a bulldog. Here is Tom Homan speaking at the National Conservatism Conference just a few months ago, talking about what's going to happen next.
So there's the secret. That's why Tom Homan's pissed off, because we had this locked down. And I tell you what, Washington Post can do all the stories they want me about. Tom Homan's deport people is really good at it. They ain't seen shit yet. Wait till 2025.
By the way, if he deports 1 million illegal immigrants at the very beginning, which will be largely focused, again, on criminal illegal immigrants, as well as new illegal immigrants who've crossed during the Biden administration, that's going to show an awful lot of skin in the game and good faith by Trump toward the American people. Meanwhile, Democrats are in a state of absolute disarray. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not getting along. Plus, Joe Biden is in a state of complete mental deterioration. Yesterday, Joe Biden was asked about whether there would be a hostage deal between Hamas and Israel. Listen to this doddering old fool be completely unable to even respond.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
You think you're going to get hit in the head by a camera behind you? All right.
What?
Thank you all.
What in the world? What? Like, is it, what? Can you be hit in the head by a camera behind you? What? This person, I can't imagine why they lost. Why did they lose? It's a giant, giant mystery. Meanwhile, the tension between Kamala Harris and the Bidens is quite real. Yesterday, there was an event at which Kamala Harris and the Bidens were present. Look at the way that Jill Biden responds to the presence of Kamala Harris, who shoved her husband aside. It is quite delicious. You can see Kamala Harris is going to sit next to Jill Biden. Jill Biden does not even move. Does not get up to shake her hand. Does not respond to her presence. Just stares directly forward. Jill Biden cannot. She cannot. It's amazing. Amazing. Meanwhile, Peter Doocy asked Karine Jean-Pierre if there's any awkwardness between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, considering the fact that Joe Biden is the happiest man in the world that Kamala Harris lost. Here is Karine Jean-Pierre, soon to be the ex-press secretary.
We know that today, a week after the election, President Biden and Vice President Harris had a private lunch. How awkward was that?
I don't even understand. Why would it be awkward?
Because the president got squeezed out for her, and then she kept him at arm's length, and then she lost, and now she's back.
Why would you characterize it as awkward? They have regular lunches. They meet and talk regularly. Why would you call it awkward?
So there's no weirdness about the way that things have unfolded since
Did you see them?
21st.
Did you see them together yesterday as well when they honored our veterans and were together? This is like, I'm not even going to take the premise of the question. What I will say is, the president and the vice president had lunch today. They've had lunch many times. They have they communicate with each other regularly. They had an opportunity to discuss the last 70 days or so of this administration, how important it is to get things done for the American people. And that's their focus. That is genuinely their focus.
Is it though? Is it really? By the way, this is an amazing story. So Al Sharpton, who is the king of racial grift, I mean, just the king of it. Apparently he pried $500,000 out of the Kamala Harris campaign just before giving her an interview on MSNBC. So you want to talk about journalistic integrity? You want to talk about objectivity? How about the fact that, according to the Washington Free Beacon, Kamala Harris's presidential campaign donated $500,000 to Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization just weeks before the anti-Semitic MSNBC host, who once said that diamond merchant Jews have the blood of innocent babies on their hands, conducted a friendly interview with Harris. So they literally paid off the interviewer, apparently. The campaign's remittance to Sharpton's National Action Network was part of a flurry of donations, $5.4 million in all, to Black and Latino advocacy groups that seemed aimed at winning Harris support from those constituencies. Harris's campaign gave two payments of $250,000 each to National Action Network on September 5th and October 1st, according to campaign finance records. And then, on October 3rd, Sharpton aired a video of Harris wishing him happy birthday on his MSNBC Weekend show. And then he conducted a glowing interview with her on October 20th. Man, Al Sharpton, that dude always gets his taste, doesn't he? I mean, good, honestly, good for him. Seriously, that is a dude who uses every bit of leverage he can to enrich himself. And I guess, that is the way to do it in Democratic circles. Meanwhile, Democrats have a bunch of systemic problems on their hands. One of those systemic problems is that the number of split-party Senate delegations has been steadily shrinking since about 1965. If you look back to the mid-1970s, early 1980s, about 1/3 of all states had a split delegation, meaning one Republican and one Democrat who are their senators. Today, there are 3. Just 3 states have a split delegation. One of those is Wisconsin. One of those is Pennsylvania, and one of those is Maine. Now, Pennsylvania has been trending red. Wisconsin has also been trending red. Presumably, Maine, which has been trending blue, might split the other way, but you have 25 states that are complete Republican hold states. Both senators are red. And by the way, there's another state that if Republicans would, run people who are not Kerry Lake, they might win some Senate seats in Arizona. Arizona went for Donald Trump by 5 points. If they ran some good candidates in Arizona, there's little doubt in my mind that that state also flips back red. So you'd be talking about 26 states that are Republican in orientation in the Senate, which is 52 seats, which is a majority. Right now, just 22 states are pure Democrat blue states. Again, these are signs that bode ill for Democrats. Meanwhile, the New York Times is reporting that black voters are asking, quote, what have Democrats done for us? Well, once they start asking that question, that's going to change exactly what they expected the Democratic Party, which has taken their support for granted. Quote, in the final weeks of the campaign, many Democrats hoped signs of crumbling support among black voters would not materialize at the polls. There's an expectation that Trump's baggage would be poisonous, as he was heavily criticized for trying to discredit Ms. Harris's racial identity, spreading vicious disinformation about Haitians eating pets, and accusing immigrants of taking, quote-unquote, black jobs. Now again, all of those stories didn't make one bit of difference. They didn't make one bit of difference. Because when Donald Trump was saying, well, sometimes she'll identify as Indian, sometimes she identifies as black, I don't know what the story is. It turns out that there's an undercurrent of that question that actually existed for many black voters. There are many, many interviews that were done on air that suggested just that. Meanwhile, as far as the eating the dogs and eating the cats, that just became a meme. That thing became a meme right away. My 4-year-old daughter is wearing a shirt around that says they're eating the dogs. It's just a meme. It doesn't mean anything. It's just funny. And as far as accusing immigrants of taking black jobs, that you want to talk about a manufactured media nonsense story. Democrats talk about black jobs all the time. But if Trump mentions it's racist now, well, the reality is that many, many black voters are moving away from this. Some of the voters, namely working class black men, said they doubted their circumstances would fundamentally change regardless of who won. The dissatisfaction evident in urban centers in swing states like Milwaukee and Philadelphia was potent enough to depress turnout in some Democratic strongholds and even flip some majority black counties to Mr. Trump. The New York Times says the outcome was less a reflection of enthusiasm for Trump and more of an indication that some black voters were questioning what dividends, if any, have come from their loyalty to the Democratic. That would be an excellent question. That's a question that should have been asked, 60 years ago, considering that the Democratic Party has run majority black areas completely into the ground. Some of the most heavily populated areas in terms of demographically black areas in the country have been run like just a horror show. Many of the things that black voters require the most, things like school choice, for example, so they're not trapped in failing public schools, have been denied by Democrats who are at the behest of teachers' unions. Many of the welfare programs Democrats designed were implicitly designed to break up families. Of course, people are looking around and asking, why are these cities governed like trash? It is worse to live in a major American city today than it was 20 years ago. It's just that simple. That is bad. And people of all races and all ethnicities are beginning to realize that. In just 1 second, we'll get to Democrats struggling, engaging in the blame game. First, Am I Racist?, the biggest documentary of the decade in theaters, is now Academy Award submitted. It's streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. If you saw Am I Racist in theaters, thank you. You are part of history, but there's even more waiting for you. Catch a deleted scene featuring the beloved children's book character Johnny the Walrus. Yes, he was in the movie, but not in the movie, but over at Daily Wire Plus he is. Plus exclusive behind-the-scenes footage showing exactly how he pulled all of it off. The only way to see it is with the Daily Wire Plus membership. If you're not a member yet, now would be the time. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code Trump to get 47% off a new annual membership. Okay, meanwhile, Democrats, again, tearing each other apart. Apparently, they're now angry at Hakeem Jeffries, which is hilarious because he's one of the potential leaders of the Democratic Party. According to Axios, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is getting caught up in the ideological infighting plaguing his party, with some members of his left flank dialing up their scrutiny toward him. Jeffries' loyalists have long touted his reputation as a unifier and coalition builder, but some progressives are wondering aloud if he has the mettle to take on President-elect Trump. If Democrats had taken control of the House, Jeffries would have been seen as the kind of hero that's going to hold it all down for us, said one House progressive. But the lawmaker predicted with Democrats on track to lose the House, he'll be put in the same blanket as other Democratic Party leaders, and probably worse. Now, again, going after Hakeem Jeffries, do it. Like, really do it. I'd love to see you guys tear each other apart. Outgoing Progressive Caucus Chairman Pramila Jayapal on Monday appeared to question Democratic leadership's willingness to work with Republicans over the last 2 years. Quote, we had the situation where we had Democrats in the minority in the House who felt incumbent upon us, we can debate whether or not that was the right thing to do, to fix Republicans' lack of being able to govern, and instead of letting it show through. So she is going to be taking on Hakeem Jeffries, which is just absolutely delicious. Again, fun to watch the Democrats ripping each other apart. By the way, speaking of Pramila Jayapal, you want to talk about somebody who's just incredibly dishonest. Pramila Jayapal, who is a progressive nutcase from the state of Washington. She was asked about getting rid of the filibuster now because she had been advocating for it before. And people are like, well, okay, well, you still in favor of that now that Republicans control both the House and the Senate? Are you? And she's like, no, only when we control it. There's a shock.
I think, obviously, would I be, am I championing getting rid of the filibuster now when the Senate has the trifecta? No. But had we had the trifecta, I would have been, because we have to show that government can deliver. And right now, even with people going to the ballot, they are bypassing their government because they don't feel like government, whether it's at the state level or the federal level, is actually going to get them the things that they need.
So I guess the idea here is everything for my friends, the law for my enemies, is sort of the like constitutionalism for my enemies. But if it were me, I would be able to do whatever I want. It's so funny. All these people on the left who said that Trump was a threat to the institutions, you notice something that's not even being discussed in the Republican-run Senate, getting rid of the filibuster. You notice that? Democrats were discussing getting rid of the filibuster, packing the Supreme Court, adding states willy-nilly, changing the structure of voting in the United States. Republicans are like, yeah, no, these institutions, they're pretty good. We just need to clean them. I wonder who's the actual threat to democracy. Meanwhile, a kind of hilarious battle went on the floor of the Senate. Chuck Schumer congratulated Donald Trump on his victory and then tried to ding him by saying, well, I hope that he's going to be done with all of his stolen election talk. Mitch McConnell then turned around and slapped Chuck Schumer. So here's Chuck Schumer.
Before I turn to the Senate, let me say this. I hope that after last week, we can put to rest the fantasy of stolen elections and rigged outcomes. 4 years ago, the losing side refused to accept the will of the people, and it led to a violent insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. This year, we will not go down that dark and violent path.
Oh, my goodness. So he's still going on this. And meanwhile, Mitch McConnell's like, so if we stop talking about stolen elections now, will you stop talking about foreign interference and pretending that that's what won Trump the election?
Thus far, I've been encouraged by the lack of baseless speculation that Tuesday's decisive result was influenced in any way by foreign interference. Washington Democrats appear to recognize that they're on the losing side of a legitimate, crystal clear mandate.
Meanwhile, Democrats again trying to figure out, are they going to go moderate or are they not? So New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's sort of a quasi-Trump ally, you watch, he'll be putting on a Trump hat within a year. Eric Adams points out we have a broken immigration system and it needs to be fixed.
The voters communicated loudly and clearly. We have a broken immigration system. It needs to be fixed. That's the only conversation I want. It's broken. It needs to be fixed. And New York City was devastated by that broken system. 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers have made their way here. No financial assistance from the administration. I think it was about $200 and something million with billions of dollars we had to pay for. I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want what's taking place in Chicago and Denver, Los Angeles, Houston. I don't want to see it take place again. Let's fix our immigration system. Anything other than that, I'm not interested in that conversation.
I mean, he's right. He's right. It would be amazing if Eric Adams, annoyed by the fact that he is being told that he couldn't talk turkey with Turkey, actually flips into a Republican and he becomes the first Republican mayor of New York City since Michael Bloomberg. That would be hilarious. By the way, not totally out of the realm of possibility, considering the way things are going for him inside the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, James Carville, who said that Kamala Harris was totally going to win, is now trying to say, I told you so, because he said the wokeness was not going to do them any favors.
We're not going to say, well, we're going to say we told you so. We told you this identity was disaster. We told you to get out in front of public safety issues. You didn't. You didn't. We told you to have an open process and demonstrate the magnificent and staggering and deep talent that exists in the modern Democratic Party. You didn't. We told you to differentiate yourself from Biden. You didn't. I hate to be some know-it-all, but all of these things are part of the record.
Well, I mean, he's right about that stuff. And also, I'm wondering what this magical deep bench of talent they're talking about is. Why are they so dispirited if they've got this incredible, magical, deep bench of talent that will no longer include Kamala Harris? By the way, you know, it's going to be hilarious when Kamala Harris becomes governor of California, which is what's going to happen next. Get ready for it, guys. You think she's totally going away? She's not. She's here to haunt you. Like Hillary Clinton, she will never leave. The thing about Democratic politicians, they never go away. Ever, ever, ever. So get ready for Kamala Harris to haunt our politics for years to come. Again, she's not an old lady, so she could be around drinking wine and bothering everybody for decades. Meanwhile, Kristen Gillibrand, who is the senator from New York, the junior senator from New York, Chuck Schumer's the senior senator, she's out there saying that she's going to invite Donald Trump to a superconductor factory. Why, look at all the people who are ready to start working with Donald Trump now that he won.
I'm also going to invite President Trump to tour the semiconductor manufacturing in New York State so that he can see for himself that these are jobs that will last for decades and that we want to be competitive with China, something he's said publicly many times. He wants to outcompete China. New York's a way to do that. So I'm going to be reaching across the aisle with this new administration to do things for the benefit of New York in every aspect I can, because that's my job.
I love this. I love all the same people who are saying they're going to work with Hitler now. Remember, he was Hitler, and now they're going to work with Hitler because Hitler won. Or maybe he was never Hitler and you were lying the whole time. Well, meanwhile, there's still people who are on the he's Hitler bandwagon. That's most of the left-wingers in the media. Sunny Hostin, who has absolutely lost whatever was left of her mind, she says that actually you should stop talking to any of your relatives who voted for Donald Trump. Folks, you shouldn't stop talking to your relatives if they voted for Kamala Harris or if they voted for Donald Trump. They're your relatives. You shouldn't really do that. But here's Sunny Hostin making the case that they are deplorables, irredeemables. Keep going down this path, Democrats. Really enjoy it. Really, marinate in it. Truly, I hope that you just steep in it. Like, just go for it, man.
I completely understand her point because I really do feel that this candidate, President-elect Trump, is just a different type of candidate. From the things he's said and the things he's done and the things he will do, it's more of a moral issue for me. And I think it's more of a moral issue for other people. We're just, I would say it was different when, let's say, Bush got elected. You may not have agreed with his policies, but you didn't feel like he was a deeply flawed person, deeply flawed by character, deeply flawed in morality.
Like a lot of Dems called him deeply flawed and humanized him.
But you got to admit, they're very different figures. I mean, you along with Milley and along with John Kelly warned us about how deeply flawed he was as a candidate. And so I think when people feel that someone voted not only against their families, but against them and against people that they loved, I think it's okay to take a beat.
Okay, really. These people are filled with joy and happiness. Some of the leftists, man, some of the least happy people in the world, some of the least joyous. Speaking of joy, here was Joy Reid, just in a state of full-scale denial. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. It's not that big a majority. Don't worry, everything's fine. Okay, yeah, the copium is strong with this one.
Before you sink into despair, thinking Trump won some sort of landslide or mandate, never forget that his so-called landslide is winning just slightly over 50% of the approximately 63% of eligible voters who bothered to turn out. This was not a high turnout election, which is actually really unfortunate. Because it turns out this was the election that really was the most important election of our lives.
Well, I mean, if you couldn't get your people out for the most important election of their lives, then what is that supposed to mean exactly, Joy? I didn't see her using the same exact logic about Joe Biden in 2020 when he underperformed in the Senate and underperformed in the House and won a bare majority over Donald Trump, right? The same thing was not apparent from Joy Reid, weirdly enough. Meanwhile, every day is a wonderful day in Elon land. This is perhaps my favorite story of the day. So there's a Saturday Night Live star who says that Elon Musk is very bad. Why is Elon Musk very bad? Because when he was on SNL, apparently he made her cry. Not even kidding. Here is Chloe Feynman talking about how he's a very bad, mean man who made her cry when she was on SNL.
Okay, I just saw some news article about Elon Musk being like butthurt about SNL and his impression, but I'm like, you're clearly watching the show. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna come out and say at long last that I'm the cast member that he made cry, and he's the host that made someone cry. Maybe there's others, but I saw some articles and stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. But I'm like, no, if you're gonna like go on your platform and be rude, like, guess what? You made Chloe Feynman, burst into tears because I stayed up all night writing this sketch. I was so excited. I came in, I asked if you had any questions, and you stared at me like you were firing me from Tesla and were like, it's not funny. I waited for you to be like, haha, JK. No, then you started pawing through my script, like flipping each page, being like, I didn't laugh once, not one time. Cut to, the sketch made it on, and it was like fine, and I actually had a really good time, and I thought you were really funny in it, but, you know, have a little manners here, sir.
I'm sorry that your sketch was unfunny. You cried because you said your sketch was unfunny? Like, what? Like, what? Like, seriously, he came in, he said your sketch was unfunny, and instead of you saying, okay, how can we make it funnier, you cried? Because you stayed up all night. By the way, they stay up all night writing those sketches for SNL? Seriously? Those crappy sketches take them all night? I could write that crap in 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Are you out of your mind? ChatGPT could do a better job. Musk wrote back, frankly, it was only on the Thursday before the Saturday that any of the sketches generated laughs. I was worried. I was like, my damn SNL appearance is going to be so effing unfunny, it will make a crackhead sober. But then it worked out in the end. Oh, Elon Musk. Seth Dillon of the Babylon Bay, our friend, he said, she's a professional comedy writer who cries when someone doesn't think her jokes are funny. That's funny. Fair from Seth Dillon. Oh, goodness. Enjoying the Elon Musk of all of this. It's really, really enjoyable. Alrighty, folks, in just 1 second, we'll get to the continued riots in Amsterdam. Remember that time it was the fault of soccer hooligans from Israel? Yeah, not so much, as it turns out. If you're not a member, become a member, use code Shapiro. Check out for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.